in the cave arc of Monomyth, and before we get the story fully going, I need to update you all on where our characters are at in their young lives, so let's break it down. Madelyn Rose. Element Water. Zodiac Sagittarius, December 16th. Blood type B. Age 13. Madelyn has the position in the narrative most fitting of a main character in the traditional Monomyth sense. Her call to adventure began when she was only 10 and forced to leave her home in London for the Scottish lowlands in order for her family, and specifically her mother, to escape persecution at the hands of the church. During her travel, she proved a capable forager and even learned some skill in archery from Edna that she's come to hone into her young adult years. While she does still concern herself with a husband and marriage, her short-term goals are focused around self-empowerment and improvement, learning magic, herbalism, and survival skills while traveling the countryside with her two best friends, the Riddle twins, Martin and Shane. After episode 6 in its entirety, Madelyn made the proclamation to devote her youth to self-improvement and empowerment, learning from Cassandra Riddle the old ways of the Fae, and from Edna Rose, her mother, magic relating to herbalism and druidry. Contrary to what some believe, women could be druidesses and were written about extensively. For instance, the Greek philosopher Plutarch wrote about Celtic women serving as negotiators and judges, and in the Historia Augusta, a collection of biographies from Roman emperors written between the 1st and 3rd centuries, covering rulers from Hadrian to Carneades, claims that the Roman empires consulted with female druids. Now, using the Historia Augusta could be considered a stretch. The author is disputed, likely made up of several people using pseudonyms. It is also shown to potentially be a work of satirical historical fiction, blending true events with exaggerated claims. But also, the use of the word druid at all is contestable. See, games like Diablo or Dungeons & Dragons have painted this image of druids as being somewhere between wizards and clerics in terms of magical ability. They can heal as well as harm, shapeshift into animals, dress in furs or natural fibers, and congregate in circles or covens. But the actual use of the word druid comes from the Old Irish drui, possibly combined with the Scots word dreo, both of which can be used to mean sorcerer, magician, philosopher, sage, or wizard, as seen in the Scots Gaelic translation of Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz. The Irish word translates literally to tree knower, so when Madelyn talks about being a druidess or a witch, these terms mean basically the same thing, but one of them incorporates a sort of Scottish identity that she's been integrating with over the last couple years that she's been in Alden, even over her own parents. Tim and Edna still maintain a very English countenance and diction, but every now and then Madelyn slips into sounding more like the other children around her whom she talks with every day. So what kind of plants would Madelyn be primarily concerned with finding? Aside from the now famous flame flower, we have several important herbs that Scots used every day, such as heather. These flowers come in a variety of colors and can easily be made into dyes that would be perfect for her father's tailoring business. Not to mention the plant itself had several medicinal uses that Edna would find vital. Historically, it could be macered into balms to treat arthritis and inflammation, or used as a hot poultice for chilblains. That really painfully itchy redness you might get if you warm up your hands and feet too fast after being out in the snow. In practical use, heather plants could also be used for thatching or bedding. There's also foxglove, also called the fairy herb due to its deep connection with the Fae. Many believe that the flowers bowed out of respect for passing fairy women, and the small Fae creatures would use them as cloaks, hats, caps, or even gloves. In fact, the small black spots inside the foxglove bloom were often thought to be fairy handprints. Because of this, the name is likely derived from folksglove, as in the gloves of the fair folk. Additionally, it's thought that fairies could teach wild foxes to ring the flowers as actual bells to alert each other of hunters, and in Scandinavian folklore, fairies taught foxes how to wear foxgloves on their feet in order to make them even more stealthy. The plant has also been called the herb of the fairy women and the good people's glove by Scots and Irish Gaelic, and children were often warned not to go picking the flowers unless they wanted to anger the Fae, though this is likely to avoid them falling victim to the plant's highly toxic properties. As an herbal remedy, foxglove is used with care to regulate and strengthen heartbeats, as it's a natural source of digoxin, which is useful in managing sodium levels. Scots pine, aside from being Scotland's national tree, is a durable timber used in building, flooring, and shipbuilding, but also the resin and needles can be made into a tea that treats coughing and other respiratory issues. Hawthorn has thorny branches that were used as a natural barrier for livestock or for fencing, and as a natural nesting bed for birds, but also the berries were often collected for jams and wine. Hawthorn jam is sweet, tart, and floral. It's highly prized for its natural pectin and heart-healthy antioxidants. And it pairs perfectly with toast, baked goods, or artisanal cheese boards. Hawthorn seeds are fairly large, so because of this, the preserve is typically made as a clear jelly by pureeing and sieving out the fruit first to remove the stones. Hawthorn wine can be made by either fermenting the berries or the blossoms of the hawthorn tree. It yields a pink to red hue with floral aromas and pairs well with fish and cheese, can also be made into a sweet mead. Harebell, or Scottish bluebell, is a well-known carpet flora that coats the land in blooms of a lavender blue every spring, but historically, it would have had a lot of importance to Madelyn as well, as the sticky staff of harebell would be quintessential for bookbinding and arrow fletchings. I found this great resource on antiquated arrow fletching at surviveandrevive.org, and I'm going to put a link to their site down below. Basically, you gather all the ingredients together, and then using a sort of mortar and pestle method, you ground up the bulbs into a sticky pulp. Spread this along the cut feathers and bind them to the arrow with linen thread. Now, according to Madelyn and the undisputed standard of medieval archery, goose feathers made the absolute best arrow fletchings. It's actually a well-known fact that during the 100 Years' War, English arrows used tens of thousands of goose feathers from specifically the greylag goose, the only indigenous goose to the UK. However, other options were also used for a variety of reasons. Swan feathers were large, stiff, and waterproof, making them popular war arrows. Duck feathers were lighter and primarily used for birding arrows. Birding arrows were designed with specific fletchings that slowed down the flight dramatically after about 30 yards. This way, archers could take aerial shots at birds without losing the arrows in the woods if they miss. The tips would be blunted to deliver a shock hit without penetrating too deeply and damaging the meat of the bird itself. When doing her fletchings, Madelyn would use undyed feathers only from the left or right wing of the bird. This ensured the arrow had the proper spin that would increase distance, stability, and speed. Oh, and a quick note, modern archers and reenactors, like you'd see at the local Ren Fair, tend to use turkey feathers overall, but this isn't historically accurate as turkeys wouldn't have been available. Unlike goose, turkeys are only indigenous to the Americas, which made them a popular choice for First Nations people, but not your standard medieval archer. Thank you everyone for your continued support, and I look forward to giving you even more in the future. Our community keeps expanding with authentic viewers and subscribers that tune in every week excited for the next installment, whether that's listening to my world building rants or tuning in for a full episode. You're the ones that keep this channel afloat against an unforgiving algorithm that keeps trying to douse the flame. That's the meaning of many a mickle max a muckle, many smaller things making a big thing. And now, a shout out to our patrons and channel members.
Plebe 64 Potato,
Mr. Lobo King 8778,
P64P,
Regios 001,
Jack Plays K Plays,
Maria Elsa 6363,
Moose Now,
El Dragon Biano, 3742.
Jack McLeod.
Persephoroth.
Josh is Mary.
Runaway Train, 2502.
EA Shadow Gamer.
Sigma LaFlare.
Crochet Whimsy, 413.
Anubian the 1335.
Angels Art and Gaming.
Aisha Kashif.
Pluve, 81.
Aegis Knight.
7-Star Sanctuary.
And Chained Furry.
Emily Masternardi.
Heinrich 28.
Shadow Fox.
Arya Gamari.
Charles Tam.
Jace Moreland.
Pammy Poo.
And Lunder Lumen.